This program contains crazy material, including offensive language. Listening discretion is advised. Hey, this is Big Jim. Before we begin, I wanted to take a minute and thank Corey Rhymes and the amazing team over at the VoiceOver Academy. In fact, I'll let him tell you more about it.
Are you looking to get into the voiceover industry, but not sure where to start? Maybe you're a seasoned pro, but you're looking for a place to network and continue to grow. Either way, you've found your home with the VoiceOver Academy. Our mission and vision at VOA is to help you discover and advance in the world of voiceover by providing a community of knowledge sharing and support for all levels of voice talent. The VoiceOver Academy. Join us on Facebook and LinkedIn today.
You've been cleared for departure.
Welcome to a VO's Padded Room podcast. So put on your straitjackets and join Big Jim and Brad Storm as they probe inside the mind of a new guest each week. So strap up and let's do this. I wanna rock! I want to rock!
Yeah! On a VO's Padded Room podcast with a voiceover artist that has worked with the likes of AT&T, Black & Decker, and General Mills to name a few. The power of our guest is undeniable, and he showcases his gift in the video game realm as well as voicing characters both in Elder Scrolls and War of Realms. Our guest started off in radio and now enjoys the freedom of being behind the mic, building client relationships around the globe. It's time to get strapped in the padded room because the tattoo VO, Dee Alvis, is locked in and mic'd up. Oh yeah!
Wow. That introduction.
God, I haven't done that in a while.
Introductions made it go from 6 to noon. Thank you, Brad.
What's up, buddy?
And thank you, Jim.
Well, it's good to have you, brother. It's good to have you.
Much love to you, bro.
Do you need like an oxygen tank after you do one of those, dude? Like that was the intensity in your face was.
I was just getting mad at my mic. I haven't hooked up this mic in a while. I've been using my shotgun mic. And I try to use this one because it doesn't get any love. I try to use it for podcasting. And, hey.
That's the SM7, right? The Shure?
Yeah, sure. SM7B, yep.
7V, yeah. Yeah, that and the Electro Voice RE20 were like the rivals in broadcast.
Yeah, the RE20 is bad to the bone.
And I have it sitting here, and I feel the same way. I'm just like, feel like I need to break you out every now and then, buddy. Like,
Yeah. I call this my shotgun. This is like, well, you have the shotgun mic, but I feel like the shotgun, if I was in a video game, would be like a sniper rifle. This is more like a shotgun.
Right.
And then my condenser, I don't know, that'd probably be like a handgun maybe.
or proximity mine.
Yeah, there you go, proximity mine, yeah. So how the hell are you?
I just realized it's just sitting right there. There it is, sitting in its coffin. Somebody take me out to play, please. I should just sell the son of a bitch.
Put the microphone in a basket.
Yeah, it puts the lotion.
I'm going to put lotion on the mics.
I love this case, too. I can throw this against the wall. Nothing
Wait,
bad.
what?
But I'm not going to. Maybe at the end of the show.
Well, that's the point, yeah. That should be your next YouTube video. Like, hey, I'm going to test these
That's
mics
it.
out, all right.
That'll be my OnlyFans page. How about that? Yeah. Ooh. Look how fat the tip is.
It's a dynamic mic for sure.
Well,
Now, what'd you get banned from YouTube for?
my lawyers advised me not to talk about that one.
This is such a treat. Like, we've been away for a while now, and it was good to get back into the groove and kick things off with you, D. And
I'm honored that you guys made me the first guest after the hiatus, so I really do appreciate that. I've been psyched to do this for a while.
yeah, we've been talking to you for a while, and you have a lot of knowledge behind that voice. You've had a lot of experiences. Let's go way back. Let's go back to when you were a little youngster.
At this time, I'm going to ask you to fasten your seatbelts.
You're a little kid again.
Okay.
And you said you had an idea of being a sportscaster at a young age. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I grew up in those times. I was in like the DC market, and I didn't have cable. And this was, the 80s, where a lot of people didn't have cable, predating ESPN even. And George Michael's Sports Machine was like my favorite thing. I grew up being big into hockey, football, basketball, baseball.
Yeah.
So that was where I got my sports fix. And I thought it was so cool, like seeing the highlights, and then George is so animated and just had his way, like. And yeah, so sportscasting. And the other thing I was really big into, I listened to a lot of radio. So I was a big music rock guy. And so I had DC 101 and 98 Rock and the original HFS and Aero 94.7 that were all stations I frequented in this market. And actually 3 out of the 4 are like heritage stations at this point. So good market for radio. But yeah, that was just one of those things where I was just fascinated by all things involving a mic. And I was just big into music. So I used to write lyrics and sing and make up songs. Me and my brother would do, like, you know, we had our cardboard cutout guitars that we put construction paper on to them. And we had like the face paint. We were somewhere between like wrestlers and rockers, like, because we literally
the Road Warriors of rock.
We were huge into that. And I know Brad, you and I have talked about wrestling in the past, but yeah, the Road Warriors were our thing. Like, that's when I first heard, the first time I ever heard Black Sabbath or anything Ozzy related, was they used to come out in their NWA days that preceded what it became WCW, but they used to come out to Iron Man from Black Sabbath. And then I remember my brother got the tribute to Randy Rhoads album that came out in like 86 or 87. Yeah. And then we heard Iron Man on there and we were like, whoa, that's the Road Warriors song. And then, of course, pre-internet, so we didn't know. And then we were like, oh, Ozzy Osbourne was in a band called Black Sabbath. And that's where that song came from. Oh. So, and
the biggest headline for Ozzy for me was like, oh, you bit the head off the bat on stage.
And now we have COVID. Thanks, Ozzy.
Yeah. Damn you, Ozzy, you bastard.
So we're all trapped in booths now. Plus, he did all the drugs and left none for anybody else.
What do you think about Kiss?
Yeah, the snort of the ants. Yeah.
Well,
and the
ants. He snorted all those ants.
Now his wife just parades him around like a puppet to make more money.
What a rush.
She still manages him, I believe. So she's still in
they
control of everything. Now? I think they have like a friendly relationship. I don't really know.
Okay.
I know when he was supposed to tour last year, and then he wasn't doing well. And then again, lockdown happens and cancel all the tours and all that. So.
Oh yeah, I don't see that happening.
Aren't they always in charge of us?
Yeah. Gotta find a wallet and the short hairs. No, I mean.
What do you think about Kiss's last tour here, the 1,000,000th last tour?
Yeah, who's going to last long? The Rolling Stones might tour longer than any of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Although they just lost one of their members not that long ago. But Kiss isn't Kiss to me without. I know Gene and Paul think like they are Kiss, but
yeah,
I'm a big Ace Frehley fan, so it's not the same to me. But I get it. Bands are going to change. And there have been so many iconic bands that have changed singers, which is usually like the hardest thing to do, and have done well, like AC/DC,
Van Halen.
Yeah, Van Halen. I'm one of those people that I prefer Van Hagar. Even though I grew up on the David Lee Roth era, like I just thought the maturity of the music, and Hagar is just a better singer than David Lee Roth by far. Incredible voice. So plus the guy's like a genius entrepreneur and all that too. It's like. I read his book and it's fascinating. Yeah. Fascinating dude.
Yeah. Plus he can't drive 55, so.
Yes. In his Pantera.
Pantera.
That was the name of the car brand. Yeah. And that was a funny thing too, because I was just like, oh, cool. There's a band named after Sammy Hagar's car. Oh. Yeah. And lo and behold, I was actually the biggest Pantera fan in the 90s. So like my head, like,
are you talking to me,
bro? Like an entire wall. Like I was that guy that had like posters of bands and stuff everywhere. But I had one wall dedicated strictly to Pantera. And yeah, I was that guy. So I met them when I was younger.
Biohazard and Guar.
Yeah, Biohazard, dude. Oh my God.
Testament.
Yes. Dude, you're nailing all these bands I still listen to too.
Urban Discipline.
Yeah, dude. And actually,
Land of Destruction.
That was Evan was a cool dude back in the day. I think he's gone kind of off the rails since. I actually got to
Megadeth.
I got to interview Evan's wife at the time, Tara Patrick, who was the porn star. That was a fun day at work.
How was that?
I was at the radio station, and I just get a call from, hey, it's Tim from the Gold Club. D, what's going on? And I was like, hey, Tim, what's up? Because we had I think they're actually like a chain. So, like, what's the one, the big chain? Scores. Scores. Yeah, Scores is like the big strip club chain across the country. Like the TGI Fridays of gentlemen's clubs, if you will. So,
let's go to the buffet.
You definitely need to wear a mask for that.
On both ends.
I'll have the tuna salad, please.
strap on and strap up. But yeah, we had, you worked in radio, you have the hotline, right? Or the warm line.
Yep.
And so like,
phone.
the bat phone, you got to answer that. So usually it's one of the bosses or whatever. But yeah, it's like, it's Tim from the Gold Club. And he's like, we got Tara Patrick here. Is there any chance you can throw her on the air? And I was like, sure, why not? It's like literally was listening to Biohazard on my way into work that day. So I'm talking to her about like Evan and all this stuff. We talked about like, I like interviewing guests about anything but what they do. Like, cause I feel like musicians and actresses, actors, athletes, like they're tired of talking about, hey, what's on your iPod, or like, what's up for the next album? And it's all this cliche crap that they've answered 1,000 times. So I'll always dig up like really obscure shit about them and they love it. So they have a lot more fun with that. Unfortunately, when I was talking to Tara about Evan and his new band Spiders, that was new at the time. And she's like, yeah, well, we're separated now. And I was like, oh. Sorry to hear that. Glad we did this live on air.
Right. Whoops.
Okay. Hey, speaking of obscure things, what is the most obscure thing you've done in your life?
Obscure thing I've done in my life?
Crazy, obscure. Yeah. Off the wall.
Probably eating something weird. I was that kid that would we grew up pretty poor and my mom gave us what allowance she could afford and stuff like that. So I was always scrounging to get some extra cash, and I would do weird things. Like, I was the guy that'd be like, hey, dude, I'll give you $5 if you drink this entire bottle of hot sauce. And I was like, deal. So it's probably somewhere along those lines. Like as far as like adventurous stuff, like, I don't know, like I always wanted to do skydiving. I've done like zip lining and bungee and parasailing and that kind of, obscure. I don't know, like getting
on
stage.
What about the radio station? What about,
there was some weird, we used to have like, how it goes. Like, and again, I was talking about Tara Patrick. It's like strippers and porn stars are just, they go hand in hand with radio. And like believe it or not, I am not big into that culture. Like I was always kind of like, when it came to strip clubs and things like that. Like I'd go with my friends because it was just like, okay, it'll be fun. But it was more like the people watching for me. And then I remember some of my friends were like, when I was like 19, 20 years, like, dude, it's cool with me, but are you gay? And I'm like, no, I'm just not into skis. Like, I'm like, this is just, I was like, when we were in high school and went to Hooters, it's kind of the same thing, but like now they don't wear tops. So, they don't really like you guys. I'm sorry to tell you, they just want your money. So I'm like, if I apply myself, I can actually go get laid for real. Instead of like going back to the buffet thing, it's like being starving and going to a buffet and being like, you can't eat the food.
And you're broke as hell.
So, like, I might as well just stay home and cook myself something. So yeah, I was never big into that. And so like, and then of course, and radio and everything and TV, those kind of folks like to pour it on and just, and I'd always just be like, yeah, don't touch me. Get that glitter lotion away from me or whatever you got going on. Like, not
it's
having
nice, but no. Yeah.
I'm sure you're a great person on the inside.
That's what they all tell me.
Like I was much happier dealing with like athletes and bands and stuff like that. Like it was always, that's what revved my engine. But every now and then geez, in the porn industry, probably the best person I ever interviewed was Rob Rotten.
Rob Rotten.
And
what a name.
Yeah, he was so he was and I'm a big horror guy too. So he did all these like parody porns where it was like Texas
Scary
Vibrator
Movie 5?
Massacre and all. So like, just kind of like, so like he would use the horror theme for these porn movies based on, and they were just like spoofs of
actual
of
titles,
horror movies, and he would go crazy with getting them the costumes and the sets. So it was almost like if Rob Zombie directed porn, if you will. So to put it kind of like that rock star world meets the horror world.
Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, and that was a fun time because then like 2 days later I get home and there's a box on my porch and it was a gift from Rock Rotten and it was just like, here's every movie I ever made. And I was like, yay.
The next day they were on eBay.
Right.
I've got stocking stuffers for Christmas now.
I get to see what I'm not getting.
Everybody gets porn. Because that was the thing. I was like, I was like, yeah, let's just give my friend. I was in my early mid-20s. So I was like, here. I was like Oprah, but with porn. You get a DVD. You get a DVD. You get a DVD.
You need a box set.
This one skips.
Yeah. This one came with a flashlight. Batteries not included.
This one's with penicillin.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's the most important part.
We're going to flash forward to, oh my God. We're going to flash forward to 2017, right?
Yeah.
You transitioned out of being a DJ and a sportscaster or a reporter, and then you went into voiceover. But, how did you figure this out and say, hey, this is what I want to do?
It was something. So like our imaging guy at 98 Rock. So shout out to Buck Naked Jamie Schmidheiser, Jamie Buck.
The 98 Rock Morning Show.
He went by many names. So he was originally one of our jocks. And like, I remember I used to call the radio station to request stuff, and Jamie would answer when he was still a jock. And then he transitioned to being the imaging guy. I loved what he did, because he got to sit in the room, whereas radio starting around 2009 with the recession. And then of course they just were digging into any pockets of our parent company basically was Hearst.
Mm-hmm.
Hearst did newspapers and magazines. That's where most of their money was made. Our little cluster of electronic media was doing very well. Hearst as a whole was hemorrhaging. So they were like, let's find the profitable places in our our network and then siphon them. So they started tearing everything apart around 2009. And I remember seeing there, and that's when the politicking and all that, and then backstabbing and, everybody's worried about whose shift's going to get cut or whatever. And it just we went from being a family to being just a bunch of mercenaries in a lot of ways, which is sad.
Is that how radio is nowadays? I mean, I was sitting, I filled in for radio.
I went back in 2019. So yeah, I went back for a few months.
Yeah.
Down in Tampa.
Everybody paranoid about their job.
Yeah, it's so and it's changed. It's just like it used to be fun, and now it's like just don't talk for more than 15 seconds. And I'm like, what the hell's the point?
Oh, it's like it's why fix things that aren't broken? I remember in the fire department, guys would be able to hop on the back of the fire trucks, and then they'll be able to wave high as they drove down the streets, and now they can't do that because it's not safe. And then there's so many rules that they lived up until that time doing well at what they did. Now it's like you got to throw a billion other rules on top of things. And it just, like you said, it makes it not fun.
Yeah, and it's not like firefighters get paid well either. I think a lot of people have this misconception that firefighters are like, they're not even making like Walmart money.
Right.
You know, and
now it's even more dangerous.
And think about the job they do. Right.
With COVID and everything. So
budget cuts and all the other things, I'm good for any of you guys that still do that, because that's amazing. That shows true selflessness, and God knows, where we'd be without firefighters. I mean,
on the flip side, they're getting raises now too, because people are leaving jobs all over the place. We just talked about like at Target, you can make $15 an hour working there.
Yeah.
Over where I live, because nobody's working at these places.
Yeah. My stepson, he went from Target at 15 to now he's at Walmart for, I think, $16.50.
Mm-hmm.
And, starting out, like that's starting pay for what he's doing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so I could go work in retail essentially, or run into burning buildings for less money. Like, what am I going to do? And that's the thing we have to, that's where I guess unions and things like that can be helpful, because when people are getting taken advantage of, and then it's a necessary, the essential workers, like, talk about now, right? Like, we love the essential workers, then pay them. How about you pay them? Show them in their bank accounts that you love them.
Look at pro wrestling and look at UFC. They're wanting to form unions.
Yeah.
Because, they don't have health insurance or anything like that.
And that's why so many of them ended up
they're
being
independent
pill junkies, because that's the only medical treatment they got. It was like, here, take a bunch of Percocets and whatever, and so you can wrestle in your match tomorrow. Right, exactly.
And then get addicted to them and then die. Yeah. I mean, we've seen so many legends. Dark Side of the Ring has like 1 billion episodes because there's a lot of tragedy.
Really is.
In pro wrestling.
I think about, like, people always freak out about musicians and stuff. That's a popular thing on social media, right? Like, oh my God, I can't believe an 85-year-old drummer died or whatever. And it's like, well,
yeah.
It's like, well, no, that's pretty normal, as opposed to, like in wrestling or guys who have post-concussion
football
syndrome and things like that, CTE, from football players and stuff that are dying at 45, 50 and wrestlers that are dying at 45, 50.
Yeah.
That's tragic to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's way too young.
Kurt Hennig, Ravishing Rick Rude, Macho Man, Randy Savage.
These are all the guys I grew up watching. And and I'm like, dude, I'm going to outlive them.
I'm surprised Jake's still alive.
Who's that? I'm sorry?
Jake the Snake. I'm surprised he's still alive. And Ric Flair.
He was close. And then
DDP.
Didn't DDP fix him up?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, DDP. Yeah.
Dude, DDP is like, who's the was it Benny Hinn, the guy, the evangelist or whatever, that's supposed to heal people? Or the old televangelism BS.
Yep, it's pretty impactful.
And I feel like DDP is like the real life version of that. Like he really gets these guys
a path
on a healing path, and they're like, some of these folks, they look younger now than they did 20 years ago,
and they're having more opportunities.
Yeah. And I like that these guys are doing things like writing books and doing these shows and things like that, where they can make some money that they probably should have been making before.
Yeah.
Let the games begin. Let the games begin. Let the games begin.
We know what that sound means. That's right. It's time for another round of a VO's Padded Improv. Today, Mr. Alvis, you got a script for you to do as whatever you want. So when you're ready, the mic is yours.
Because I'm all about that bass. No treble. I'm all about that bass. About that bass. No treble. I'm all about that bass. About that bass. No treble.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. I ain't no size 2, but I can shake it like I'm supposed to do. 'Cause I'm that boom boom that all the boys chase, and all the right junk in all the right places. I see the magazines working that Photoshop. Because that shit ain't real. Come on now, make it stop. If you got beauty, just raise them up. 'Cause every inch of you is perfect. From the bottom to the top. Yeah, my mama, she told me, don't worry about your size. She says boys like a little more booty to hold at night. Oh, yeah. And no, I won't be no stick figure silicone Barbie doll. So if that's what you're into, then go ahead and move along.
Bring booty back. That is a cause.
Because I'm all about that bass. About that bass. No treble. I'm all about that bass. About that bass. No treble. I'm all about that bass. About that bass. No treble. Hey, I'm bringing booty back. Go ahead and tell them skinny bitches that. Nah, I'm just playing. I know y'all think you're fat, but I'm here to tell ya, every inch of you is perfect from the bottom to the top.
Oh,
that is a good cause.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring booty back. Vote for booty.
They should put that on a bumper sticker.
Good stuff, man.
Oh, for crying out loud. Mine's in the gutter.
Somehow we came back to strippers.
Yeah.
It's rain and glitter. Are those places even open these days? Like
strip clubs?
Is that a valid business anymore?
They are open.
I guess that's a place that never really cared about germs in the first place.
Yeah, true.
Ew.
Yeah, like
I don't go to them as often as I did before I was married.
COVID's not the worst thing I'm going to catch in this establishment.
Being a DJ and trying to transition into voiceover can be challenging for some. Was it challenging for you? And what are your tips to get out of that announcery DJ voice into a more conversational voice?
I think the thing for me was, whereas a lot of people put on like a radio voice or whatever, like, especially remember like 90s morning radio was always like, hey, it's the Wacky Morning Zoo with Ted and ZB or whatever, when I first got into radio, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to talk like I talk, like if I was talking to anybody on the street. So I always kept a very conversational style. And then if a commercial didn't call for like this, like automotive a lot of times, and I do the monster truck stuff and things like that, whatever, like the traditional announcery kind of reads.
Right. Over the top.
So I would get scripts that were like, I'm like, it's just like a dude talking about an experience or whatever, right? So I would treat it like that. So I always got really pissed off when I'd hear from people, oh, you shouldn't tell people in voiceover that you came from radio. And I'm like, well, that's stupid, because I know how to edit audio. I know how to produce.
Yeah.
I know how mics work and how interfaces work and how to ride.
I can write copy.
Yeah, how to write. And I used to be a copywriter. That was actually my first job. So it's like I had all these other skills that transitioned well to me. And so I kind of went the rebellious route where I was like, no, I'm not going to hide my radio, on my website right now. You can see a bunch of radio highlights and some interviews and things like that. I make no bones about that's where I come from, because also a lot of successful VOs I know where that is a badge of honor. Like, Mark Ryder is the one who I've learned so much from. And he's one of the first people where I was just like, man, I keep hearing it. He's like, F that. Be proud of, you learn how to use a mic. You learn a lot of skills that made you a better voice talent. He's like, yes, acting had to be a big part of it, which of course that's what we take classes and coaching and all that other stuff for, which I've done. But I think also just the being comfortable behind a mic. A lot of people, they're really good when they're reading scripts off a piece of paper in a group or whatever. But as soon as you put this thing in front of them, it's like, oh, all of a sudden they're in their own heads too much.
Yeah.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
And they're really loud with their volume.
Yeah. And a lot of people, I think it's the other thing. People think of the mic as the instrument. And I'm like, no. Your voice is the instrument. The mic's just kind of the conduit. So, and that's why I think, stop harping on having the best gear or whatever, like, sure, I'd love a U87 instead of the Sennheiser, but why would I need it? I'm making money with this thing. I made money with a $30, one of those MXL 800s that there's like 5 billion different versions of.
Yeah.
$30 mic you can get off Amazon or whatever. I made money with one of those, just it's treating the space. That's the biggest thing, and having a decent interface.
Well, you got to think too, D, it's like people are sending in auditions on their phone to agents.
Yeah.
I mean, they are, and they're getting the jobs too.
It's true.
Some of them.
Yeah. I think that's as long as it's like, hey, you understand that, like, I'm just not available and I'm not on vacation or whatever. And people will book, because I think on that level with agencies and stuff, they know it's like, hey, my talent has the ability to do this in a proper studio when that source connect session is going to happen.
Right.
This is just showing what they can do with that particular read. And I, so yeah, like the radio thing, I just think I learned a lot of skills that translated well into voiceover. But yeah, I also worked in major markets and with big clients for advertising work. So voiceover was always a part of it. And then I started getting requested, like our salespeople would be like, hey, D, this client, they want you to do their spots from now on. And because I wasn't sitting there being like, come on down to Jimmy's Chicken Shack. Jimmy's Chicken Shack. Oh my God, that's an actual
Jimmy's Chicken
Shack was actually a local band. So I just mixed two things up. But it sounds like a restaurant, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does, man.
Yeah. So and it's just taking those skills and sharpening them. So, and even a lot of the coaches I worked with, they were just like, yeah, that radio thing is just such a antiquated idea in the voiceover world. They said that started in the 90s, because there are a lot of folks who transition and thinking they just come in and, but that's what sold, I mean, like when the conversational thing didn't really become the guy next door ads, all that stuff didn't start happening till like 2005, something like that. So, and also because I always pay attention to commercials, because I worked in advertising and marketing too. So like, I've always been mindful of that. And I remember noticing the changes like 15 years or so ago, where I was like, commercials really have gotten much more subtle.
Yeah. I mean, it's really good that you have those experiences to fall back on. And it's good to see that you're still proud from where you come from. I mean, that you can't take it back anything that you've done, and you got to appreciate where you've been. But like you said, though, we all know this. You have to spend time behind this mic if you're not where you need to be. I mean, it has to be daily. It has to be hourly. It just has to be. So you get familiar. And now, like, switching gears to the video game world, talk about that. I mean, you were in Elder Scrolls?
Yeah, so the new Elder Scrolls, I think that's dropping next month. So that's
beautiful.
Yeah, that's I do a lot of indie games and a lot of
Elder Scrolls isn't an indie game.
No, I know, but that's why I mentioned
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls earlier because when people ask like, "Oh, is there something I might have played or I'd be familiar with?"
Yeah.
And
I love indie games.
the cool thing with video games though is like a lot of times you don't know till you do a roll, they give you the information, and again it's NDAs. Video games take so much time to develop. So I was shocked when they told me this was actually going to be released this year. So, and again, they were like, "We've already promoted it. You're already on the IMDb, blah, 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 blah." So I was like, okay, cool. And then there's others I'm not at liberty to talk about yet. And I'm like, I recorded this 2 years ago. When am I going to be able to talk about it?
Yeah.
Video games were something like people always told me like, dude, you're like, when you just go off on your tangents, you're funny with these voices and things like that. And I kept saying, I told that voiceover is not about funny voices and things like that.
Yeah.
It's really about acting. But I think it's a combination of both. So like, if you can do a cool voice and actually sell like the actual acting, so it's something I never really tried. I didn't try my hand at it so much till about it was like 2019. I was like, I'm gonna try and dive into this some more. Because every now and then I'd see one on like one of the casting sites and I'd book it. And my booking rate for video game and animation stuff was way better than my booking rate for anything else. Like I was booking it
Your niche found you.
Yeah, it was like 1 out of 10 things I'd go after, I'd book. As opposed
it's crazy that way.
Work, man, it's so tough, and it's like because there's so many great talents out there, and that's where the money is, right? So everybody's chasing the commercial work. And I was like, yeah, not saying that I'm not built for commercial work or whatever. I think there's certain styles I do well with it versus others. But with video games, I was like, dude, I can play all kinds of different things, and it's so fun. Doesn't pay nearly as well, but it gets you that internet street cred, if you will. Especially in the Twitter world, you guys see the difference between all the different social media platforms, right? Twitter seems to be like much more about the clout of like, oh, it's cool that you did. And it's like a lot of those cool roles pay jack. And it's not, and it's not because people are using Fiverr or whatever. Like, no, it's just a fact. Like you get $200 for an hour session or whatever when you do a game. That's standard issue, So
games are fun.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. So it's fun. Also, if they like you, they'll bring you on for other stuff. I've done a lot of games where like they'll hit me back and be like, "Hey, can we pay you for another session just to do a couple side characters? It's like a couple lines each or whatever." And I'm like, "Sure." And I just think there's a lot more. I understand games better. I think, I can read a script for a game and know what the character's doing as opposed to some of the commercials.
Right.
Some of these commercial scripts, man, I'm just like, what the hell is going on in this
ad?
ad?
Yeah. A word, pause. Another word, pause. A big long sentence.
And then even if I have the sides where it's telling me what the visuals are, I'm like, this thing is all over the map. I have no idea what the message is.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad I'm not alone on that. That's okay.
Yeah, it's like
that's good.
Like basic 30s or one thing, but some of these like new age commercials are just like they're trying to fit a movie into an ad. And then that's the other thing. I feel like the message gets lost. And again, going back to my copywriting days, I'm like, there's so many times I've watched a commercial and I have no idea what the brand was or what the ad was for. And I'm like, and that's supposed to be like cool and hip now. Really? Isn't branding kind of the point? And
what? Yeah.
Imagine if Pepsi or Doritos
maybe because they're trying to pull you in because everybody fast forwards commercials. So,
yeah, and that's the age of DVR and all that. Like I'm the one that my wife's like, really, we have to watch the commercials. I'm like, yes, honey, I have to watch the commercials to study what's going on in the voiceover world. Ah!
Oh, bro, hey, time does fly. I mean, we brushed the rust off. We're gonna definitely have you on again.
I'd love
because we didn't get to cover enough stuff. I mean. 30 minutes is a short period of time.
You guys need like an Ed McMahon to just chime in with a that's correct, Jim. Yes.
What is that? What do you do? The millionaire sweepstakes or something?
Yeah, was it Publishers Clearinghouse?
Publishers Clearinghouse. Yeah.
Still waiting for him to come to my house.
We could be next to your door.
Yeah.
I think I was 8 years old. I got that envelope. I said, "Mom, Dad, we're millionaires." They're like,
yeah, they totally dupe you with that. You won.
Yeah, well, when you're 8 years old, definitely.
This piece of paper. You got to read the fine print. Like every time they send you the They send you a key from the dealerships, right? Those mailers. We're
Yeah,
like, this
yeah.
key might unlock a brand new Kia.
It's the one at the dump. Hey, bro, you got any shout outs you want to make? Any social media you want to plug?
I mean, guys, I'd be happy to connect with anybody. Just look up Tattoo VO on any of your favorite social platforms, whether it be Twitter, no, not Facebook. I don't mess with VOs on Facebook too much. Sorry. That's my personal space where he can be the crazy cad that he can be without offending people. But yeah, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. So those are the 5. Just look up Tattoo VO. You'll find me. I'm very engaging. I'm very happy to help people. That's kind of one of the in the VO community, if you will. I definitely think I've built a reputation as somebody that is accessible and helpful whenever possible. So I love connecting with folks and helping others avoid some of the mistakes I've made and avoiding some of those snakes in the grass that you will find a lot of in the VO world.
Jim?
All right, yes, you can find me at bigjimmedia.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube at Big Jim Media. How about you, Brad?
You can check me out at bradstormvo.com, Bradstorm Voiceover Facebook, Bradstormvo on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on TikTok now. Whoop-de-doo. I think there's another one, but I can't remember. Bradstorm on YouTube. You can check out, Clubhouse. I'm on Clubhouse too. Bradstorm on Clubhouse. Just look up Bradstorm and you'll find some stuff. And check out a VO's Padded Room podcast on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Captivate, Stitcher, Spotify. Is there any other ones? iTunes? Yeah.
Ghana.
Oh, Ghana. Yeah, Ghana from India. That's a good one to check out as well. You can check it out on YouTube as well under a VO's Padded Room podcast.
And always remember, when it seems your day never ends and shit gets real, you gotta
punch every day in the face.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's show.